3 years. That's how close Shane was to the retirement he had spent 28 years building toward. He was a senior operations manager at a mid-sized logistics company in the Southeast. Good salary, solid 401k, a non-qualified deferred compensation plan, which is a retirement benefit that companies offer to senior employees where money is set aside on your behalf. Tax deferred, paid out when you retire. Shane had $340,000 sitting in that deferred compensation plan. Then the acquisition was announced. A larger competitor bought Shane's company in an all-cash deal. He was told his role was essential to the transition. He was told his benefits would be honored in full. He was told the transition team valued his institutional knowledge. He was told a lot of things. Yet 18 months later, his position was eliminated. And here's the part that almost nobody outside of the legal and financial planning world fully understands. That $340,000 in the non-qualified deferred compensation plan, it wasn't in a protected retirement account. It was sitting as an unsecured liability on the acquired company's balance sheet. And in the restructuring that followed the acquisition, Shane received cents on the dollar, not because someone made a mistake, but because that is exactly how non-qualified deferred compensation plans work, and no one had ever explained it to him. I want to take a moment and explain what Shane's situation reveals, because it exposes something that most pre-retirees with senior corporate roles don't know, and that their employers have very little incentive to explain clearly. A 401k is a protected account. It is your money held in trust, insulated from the company's financial condition. If the company goes bankrupt, your 401k is protected. A non-qualified deferred compensation plan is not. It is an unsecured promise from the company to pay you later. The money doesn't sit in a protected trust. It sits on the company's balance sheet as a liability, and if the company is acquired, restructured, or declares bankruptcy, you become an unsecured creditor. You get in line behind the banks, behind the bondholders, behind the secured lenders, and you often get back far less than what was promised. Shane had been told his benefits were substantial. He had built his entire retirement plan around a $340,000 number. The real number, after the acquisition and restructuring, was only a fraction of that. And he found out 18 months after the deal closed, 3 years from his planned retirement. I want to name something uncomfortable here. What happened to Shane was not illegal. It was disclosed somewhere in the fine print of the benefit documentation he had signed years earlier. The company's lawyers had written it correctly. The problem was that nobody in the HR department, nobody in the benefits orientation, and nobody in the annual benefits review had ever said plainly, Shane, if this company is ever acquired or restructures, this $340,000 could be at significant risk. Nobody said it. Because saying it clearly would prompt uncomfortable questions. It would prompt Shane to diversify outside of the company's plan. It might prompt him to reconsider his loyalty calculus. And a loyal senior employee who doesn't ask uncomfortable questions is very valuable to the corporations. So the information stayed in the fine print. And Shane built 20 years of career decisions around a number that had never been truly his or secure. That is the enemy I'm talking about. Not a villain with a mustache, not a corrupt executive. A system that withholds information that is in your interest, because withholding it is in their interests. Shane's story is a particularly dramatic version of a pattern I see constantly in my work with pre-retirees. Corporate benefit structures are almost always designed to benefit the corporation first. The vesting schedules are designed to keep you working. The non-qualified plans are designed to give the illusion of security while retaining actual risk control. The pension formulas, in the shrinking number of companies that still have them, are designed to maximize the years you stay before they become expensive. None of this is secret. It is all technically available in the documentation, but it's designed quite deliberately to be confusing enough that most people don't engage with it deeply until it's too late. And the people who get worst are almost always the ones who trusted it the most. The ones who said, I don't need to worry about this. The company takes care of its people. Shane said that. For 28 years, he said that. When Shane came to our team, he was devastated. And honestly, he had reason to be. But here's what we told them. You still have time, and we are going to make the most of every month of it. We did a complete forensic audit of every benefit he had remaining. The 401k, the reduced deferred compensation payout, his Social Security trajectory, his wife's income, their equity in their home. We built a retirement income plan from what was actually there, not from what had been promised. We identified strategies that in 3 years of disciplined execution could close a meaningful portion of the gap the acquisition had created. And we put in place a retirement income structure that was entirely outside the reach of any future corporate decision. Accounts that belonged to Shane alone. Income sources that vested in him, not in a company's promise. Shane retired 14 months later than he planned. Not 3 years later, 14 months. Because when you have the right plan and the right team, the damage that disloyal institutions do can be recovered from faster than you think. If you are a senior employee with non-qualified deferred compensation, supplemental executive retirement plans, or any benefit that exists as a company promise rather than a protected account, please get a second opinion today. Not because your company is bad, but because you deserve to understand what you actually have, not what you've been led to believe you have. That clarity is what our team provides. I'm Robert Beck. The link is below. Let's look at what you actually have and build a plan around the truth. Subscribe, because the most dangerous thing in retirement planning is a promise dressed up as a guarantee.